It's raining outside and the weather is super cozy, and I just wanted to try out some new makeup I have. It's not like a full face, but it's enough to warrant doing a video because there's some new products here that I really want to try. I have the new Kylie launches, but I have the setting spray and the foundation. They didn't have many shades of the foundation in like the lower shades. I think some of them are out of stock or something. This was a very like well received launch after the concealers, which I tried already in a video, and I actually didn't like them. I liked them at first, and then I looked closer and the texture just isn't right. The way it sits on my face just isn't a slay. And I've tried it, I think, twice after that, and both times it was a complete flop. I had the shade 1N and 2N, and now I'm going to try it again. So if it flops, slay. But I'm just thinking like, maybe with the foundation that it's intended to be used with, if that makes sense, it's gonna, because so far I've only been using this as like just on my face, like everywhere. So maybe it's more of like a in collaboration with the foundation. This is the Power Plush foundation, which is supposed to be a long wear, medium buildable coverage type of foundation. Let me see. Long wear foundation that seamlessly blends into skin, providing medium buildable coverage with an airbrushed satin finish. Everything about that sounds absolutely wonderful. It's absolutely everything I want. I feel like I've moved away from like the super dewy face. I think it emphasizes a lot of texture. So if I'm already having a bit of a breakout type of day, doesn't really work. Now this is supposed to also be the Power Plush Longwear Concealer. It's supposed to be the same texture, and that scares me because in theory it's what I love. Like I love this satiny, not super matte but not super glossy type of a vibe. But with this, it just didn't work out on its own. So I'm hoping that with this, we can make it work. They also released a setting spray. I'm super loyal to my Charlotte Tilbury. You guys know this, but I've been trying new setting sprays just for variety of something. This is the bottle. It's just the classic like Kylie pink. You know what I mean? Super baby pink. It looks kind of like the all-nighter setting spray, like a plastic type beat. Oh, that's quite pleasant actually. And the smell isn't like too strong. It's not something that I'm like, oh, like there it is. Like I even think the Charlotte Tilbury is way more scented. If this is even scented at all, I can't really smell anything. Maybe that's just me. Who knows? I've got the shade 1.5W in the foundation, and in the concealers, I have 1N and 2N. I don't know my undertone, and I just buy whatever I feel like buying in that specific moment. So don't judge that on that. I also have the Colourpop Valentine's Day collection, which they sent me. That's not all of it. We have the jelly shadows, which I think are super duper cute. They're like super perfect shades, right? We have like a pink, a white icy shade, and then we just have like some pink shades. I don't know. This is so cool. We have the Lost in Love palette. I always love Valentine's Day collections because you guys know I just really like pink, so that always just like works for me. And this is one of those days. I love this palette. I mean, it's just a pink palette. What can I say? It's not nothing revolutionary. Pinks for Valentine's Day, revolutionary, but I'm a sucker for pink. They also released some lip glosses. This is the glossy lip formula, which is like the long tube rather than the luxe lip gloss, which is obviously the thingy. We have just like a nudie type pink, we have a hot pink, and then we have a red. I'm seeing all of these will come out a lot more like dialed down on the lips, which I kind of love. You can just do a bit of a lip liner with one of these, and lately I've been loving a red lip gloss just with some like brown lip liner. I think that's a vibe. And they released these again. They release these hot blushes every Valentine's Day, but they're usually powder products and they sell out immediately. This time, they're a lip and cheek balm, which is basically, I never use cheek products on my lips because I find they look crusty and dry for some reason, but I love this as a cream blush. That's basically what it is to me, a cream blush, and they come in these 3 shades, kind of. The shades are a bit different. This one had like a little bit of, I think it like melted a little on the way, so it just looks a little funky, as you guys can see, but that's this shade, so you can see by comparison to the packaging. Oh, this is what it looks like. That's basically the shade. I think it's perfect. It's pretty, it's beautiful. This one's a lot closer to the packaging. As you can see, it basically melts into the shade of the packaging. Like this one isn't as icy is what I mean as like the outside packaging would have you believe. Like if you look at it this way, oh, that's so much better to figure out. Do you know what I mean? Like this is different to this. I actually think this is really cool toned and this is actually quite warm toned. So if you were looking at this packaging expecting this, that's not what you're getting. But with this one, for example, oh, you're getting pretty spot on, right? That's basically it. So that's the only thing, the only criticism. I would have loved actually this shade of blush. I would have loved that. But instead, we get that, which is a lot deeper, obviously, than... That's my only criticism, is I wanted that shade. That's the shade I wanted. But I think it's actually quite difficult to formulate a shade like that also then doesn't look ashy and doesn't look bad. And then we have this one, which is obviously, once again, very similar to the packaging shade, maybe a tad bit lighter, but it's pretty spot on. I'm not gonna do a crazy primer. I've moisturized my face quite well, and that's how I'm going to go about this. I'm gonna use a brush. They sell a brush with the foundation and it sold out before I was able to get it. I wanted the bundle of, because I bought the concealer brush and actually I think it's okay. I don't really like brushes that don't blend and diffuse. That one just kind of like tapped, but it didn't like diffuse. So maybe the same would happen with this foundation, but they sell this with a foundation brush, so I'm gonna use a brush. And this is a very similar type brush. It's just from Hourglass. I think it looks really cool. It's just a frosted glass with a pink top. Do I want to spread this out with my fingers first? Maybe. I mean, this shade isn't bad. I knew what I was getting when I was getting it. You know what I mean? Like, this is not Kylie's fault. The shade range is actually very nice on these. It's my fault for going a warm if it comes out too yellow. I actually think that looks fine. I find I'm like just like a non-existent kind of, like, really and truly I can buy any undertone and it's going to be fine as long as it's just pale enough. And I find that this being super yellow actually makes it quite nice and pale. But the shade range was really nice. I mean, from far away this foundation looks really good, right? What's the up close situation like? 'Cause that's what happened last time. I was applying the makeup, I was like, oh, this concealer looks really good. And then up close it looked really bad. Bear in mind, I have no primer on, just like my regular skincare routine. And I do this skincare routine with all of my makeup. I always have the same skincare routine. So before anyone's like, you know, did you change anything? No. I'm going to be super honest. I'm not wowed. That's just... like... I mean, look, it's a fine foundation, right? Right now it's like fine. The way it looks on camera probably looks fine, right? That looks quite pretty. Whatever. When you get like super up close and personal, it is sitting on the skin just a tad. Like, just a tad. It's nothing crazy. It's not kind of anything awful. But there are foundations that I apply that are just like, oh, this is like one with my skin. This has become one. And that's what I look for. Otherwise, like, what's the point of wearing a foundation if it's going to literally sit on your face in any capacity? So when I look for a foundation, I want like, oh, this is like melting into my skin. It's also like, not pilling, but kind of around this area here, which is a problem area, but there are many foundations that don't do that. I mean, it's fine around the forehead. Around this eyebrow here, it's looking a little bit heavy. I feel like the more I blend it in, the more okay it becomes. You almost, they said buildable, but I do find it gets cakey in the areas that you apply more to. And that makes me think it's not as blendable, I mean buildable as it's made up to be. Maybe you have to like wait or something, but I've applied the areas that I've basically diffused this and diluted it down. Like if I keep on doing this, it starts to become one with the skin, but then obviously you're losing some of that coverage, and so then it becomes like a very light medium coverage. They said it's a medium buildable, and I just currently I'm not finding it to be very buildable, but that's my skin type. Obviously everyone's got the right to their own vibe. I've got this much left behind, and honestly, I'm not gonna risk putting the rest of that on my face. I'm just gonna wipe that onto a beauty blender for now, and then just put that off to the side. Now, risky business. I'm going to go in with a concealer because I'm hoping to make this work. Now, this foundation didn't wow me, and I was expecting it to wow me for some reason, and now that it's not, I'm like, oh, the concealer's just not gonna get fixed because it didn't. The thing is, my skin doesn't look bad. I feel like I'm just super critical of the way my foundation looks, and in reality, most people's skin probably looks about like this, but sometimes, every now and then, I use a product and my skin just looks fantastic. So I always hold every other product to that extreme standard of like fantastic. Like one of those foundations is the Mario Surreal Skin something something. For me personally, obviously everyone's got a different skin type. That foundation literally from first application made me look absolutely flawless and incredible and like amazing. And this just isn't doing that. So if I was like, oh, am I gonna rebuy this foundation when I'm done with it, or am I gonna buy the Makeup by Mario one? Obviously I would buy the Makeup by Mario one, not this one, right? Because knowing that I already have a foundation that does that for me, why would I buy one that doesn't do that for me, right? Anyway, I'm gonna use 1N. Also, recently, I'm not gonna use this today, I don't think, because then that defeats the whole purpose. Recently, I tried the Huda Faux Filter color corrector. I've got the shade Cherry Blossom. I also bought the Peach Pie one because I also bought the Peach Pie powder, which is way too dark for me, but it kind of works. This is an amazing formula. Like, absolutely incredible, to the point where I was scouring the internet to try and find this, but like the concealer version of this, because it's the same formula apparently, and a lot of my shades are sold out in different places. Incredible formula. Like matte, but blendable matte, and perfect matte, and like skin matte. I'm almost tempted to use it now, but I want to give these concealers a chance, so I'm not going to do that. But I've been using it literally every time I do my makeup now, so even for like natural days, don't let this fool you. For natural days, this is absolutely perfect because it takes away some of that, you know, that bit there. I think it's perfect. If you don't overdo it as well, I would put it on the back of your hand and then kind of blend it and like mesh it into your concealer brush, and then blend instead of putting it directly under your eyes. That's my like number one. I'm gonna actually do that maybe with this because I want this to work. I want to like this concealer that everyone else apparently also loves. I'm gonna use the Hourglass concealer brush, which is one I prefer, and it works with all my other concealers, so if it doesn't work with this, I'm going to be angry. How's that going? Yeah, it's not perfect. It's actually lifting the foundation around here. I don't know if you guys can see that. And it's just not sitting right. Like, I don't know what it is. It just, not peels, but almost, it like just looks quite cakey under my eyes and everywhere else. It's not like it's just my under eyes, and I mean it is a concealer for the under eyes, so it should really look good under the eyes most of all, but it doesn't really. And yeah, it's removing the foundation. Can you guys see that? There's literally a patch of just like no foundation on my nose right now. I hate when this happens. I feel like good base is just like your complexion products need to look amazing. Everything else is kind of fixable. If your lipstick doesn't look good, just take it off, try again. But once your complexion starts, look at that! There's like no foundation here. I feel like once your concealer and foundation starts looking funky, oh yeah, that looks awful. Oh my god. Let me get you guys up close and personal with me. I don't know how much of that you can see. I hope you guys can see how bad that looks, because it really doesn't look good. That's actually the tea in the shade, is it doesn't look good. and I'm gonna set this and it's gonna look even worse because that's exactly what happens every time I use this concealer. Like I think, oh, if I'm gonna set it with a good solid powder, it's gonna look better, and then it just like doesn't. And the thing is, I would love to be one of these girlies that loves this concealer and that loves this foundation, because there are so many people, allegedly, who love this product. And the thing is, I'm inclined to believe them only because I feel like complexion products are super hit or miss. Someone might really like something, there's someone else who really doesn't like. I feel like some things are more, a little bit more generic across the board. Like an eyeshadow palette is good and most people are gonna have a good time with it. And if an eyeshadow palette is bad, most people are gonna have a bad time with it. Complexion products are really so hit or miss. So I'm not here to say that someone is like faking or lying or something, but I surely don't like this complexion. You can even see where I blended it into my, you can see it's kind of bleeding into my lines on my skin, on my hands. You can kind of imagine what it's doing on my face, if that's what it's doing on my hand. I actually think the foundation has a much nicer formula than the concealer does. So maybe if anything, I will be able to use the foundation, but truly with how nice and big my collection is, like the chances of me coming back to this foundation are like slim to none. Quite honestly. I mean, it looks okay. Like you can see it's actually quite patchy here. And it actually doesn't even look satin. It looks weird. The texture is so weird on this. I'm not really sure what's going on. Anyway, let me try and fix this now. I recently bought, this came out in a mini, which I really like because I like buying cream products in a mini if the choice is available to me. It's the Westman Atelier Face Trace Contour Stick in the shade Biscuit, which everyone has been recommending, mainly for my skin tone because it's like perfectly cool toned but also not super like ashy. It's just like a nice product and I'm hoping that it will save. I've only used it a few times and I quite like it. I'm hoping that it will save whatever is going on here and just kind of take attention away from that, hopefully. I mean, you guys can see the shade on this is perfect. Like Biscuit on my skin tone is the perfect level of like cool toned but not ashy. You can kind of wear it without a bronzer essentially. But don't put it directly on the skin. I do find it's quite thick. It's creamy, but it's just thick. It's a thick formula. So I do recommend not dragging it on your face if you don't want any patchiness. But I'm hoping that this takes away from the patchiness of the foundation. Now I'm worried about like using the Colourpop products on top because I don't want to give them a bad review. Because like even this contour right now doesn't look incredible. It doesn't look as good as it usually does, but it looks bearable. My skin could look better, really and truly and honestly and like really. I'm gonna use the lightest blush, which is called Heart's Content. It's not the lightest, but it's light enough. That actually looks quite bright. Oh, that was enough for 2 cheeks. Sometimes I need to like rewatch the video to see what I truly think about a product, because sometimes it's hard to tell like while you're doing your makeup and then you see it in a different angle, in a different light, and you know, you can kind of figure out what you think about it. I actually think this side needs a little bit more. I actually think the balm is really nice. Controversially, like my makeup doesn't look good right now at all, but controversially I think the balm looks nice. It's just the foundation is so like patchy and not living that it's just not doing what it needs to do. I then like to, when I'm done applying my blush, I like to take, and I mean this is bad because this concealer doesn't really work, but I like to take a little bit and kind of put it right here just to bring some of that lightness back. My cheeks are just a really weird shape, so they end up just getting out of shape. This just feels heavy. It feels like it's gunking up my brush. You know when you start doing your makeup and it just feels not smooth and not creamy. It just feels a bit gunky. The thing is, I had her old concealer and I loved it, and when people heard that this was coming back, they were expecting that concealer foundation vibe. well, she didn't have foundation back in the day, she had concealer, but everyone just expected like that formula. And that's just not what we're getting. I don't know, some people love it. I'm still missing that old concealer. My one went bad, so I had to get rid of it. I kind of miss it. It was like perfect and creamy, and you could set it, but you could also like not set it if you didn't want to. I actually really like these balms. That's all I'm going to take from this video. Is I love the way this blush looks. It's very blushy, but I just think for Valentine's Day it's kind of cute to do that. Even with how not good my skin looks right now, I find the blush is bringing some necessary life back without being overly glossy, but I still think it's like healthy and dewy and right. No, this looks good. It's just the rest of my face is a little bit. I mean, yeah, if you guys were up close and personal with my skin right now, you'd just scream. Hold on. Look at that. I don't know if you guys can see all this texture that is being created on my face right now, but if you did, you'd scream. It's not good. I also bought the Huda powder puffs for some reason, but I really like them. I like their texture. They feel a lot nicer than some of the cheaper ones that I got on like Amazon. I always set first with the Charlotte Tilbury, and then I usually go in with a loose powder. I know that feels counterproductive. That's what works for me. The thing is, I'm not changing up my technique for new products. Like, I want my new products to fit in with the techniques that I already do. And then if I need to adjust, I will. But typically when I do something, it's because I've already tried and tested it, and that's what works for my skin type, my skin vibe, my look. So I just like to go in and set like this. I find that kind of immediately just sets things down. I mean, that's looking a tiny bit better, but that's just Charlotte Tilbury doing her thing. I mean, you can see some texture under my eyes. It's not great. Anyway, and then I like to go in with the Huda Beauty powder. This one is the Cherry Blossom. I like to just obviously, you know, do my thing. I kind of started baking again, but that's just because I have no technical way of describing this. I don't know, I think it just really nicely brightens up, but I don't use it to set because I find if you just bake on top of unset complexion, that's when it ends up looking kind of heavy and cakey like we used to have it. I think we all used to do that if you're in the beauty community, but now I just use it as almost just a brightening method, and I don't keep it on for very long. Like, once I'm done applying this, I will most likely just whip it off. My card filled up, so I had to move things around, but my skin right now looks, I mean, it looks okay, but it's dry and crusty and textured, and like up close things just don't really look good. Let me show it to you guys because this needs a little peruse. It's just not great, honestly. I'm gonna just finish off the rest of my powders. I've got this palette I've been using lately. It's just a Tarte, like, magnetic palette, and I had a few things in there. 2 Charlotte Tilbury bronzers. One of them's heavily hit pan on. This one's the light one, and this one is like the second lightest one because this one is like very light, and then I just have like an ochre blush and an ochre highlight. So I'm just gonna go into that light bronzer and a bit of that dark bronzer. I like to just mix them up because the light one is very, very light, so it definitely is for more like very fair skin tones, or when you just want like a very light dusting of bronzer, which is why I've hit pan on it so easy, because I used to just like dig into it. But now if you just mix it with a little bit of the medium one, you get just like a nice soft bronze. The thing is, all of these products usually look really nice, and then today they obviously look the way they look, and that just confirms that the foundation is not the best. I'm going to go in with highlight first, which is what I've been doing recently, and then blush on top. I find that things look less streaky like this, mainly when you use a pretty like out their highlight like the Ofra ones. I remember them being super blinding, but I'm kind of using like newer techniques with older products, which I find is the way to go. Just updated techniques, a bigger, fluffier brush, not wetting the brush, you know, all of that makes the difference. Because I find this formula is actually quite smooth. It's not super like, you know, like that looks really nice. And then I'm just gonna go into that blush. I use both sides, the matte and the shimmery, and I just blend it all together. It's not great, but it's like not the worst my makeup's ever looked. I almost feel bad complaining because I'm like, well, this isn't like awful. It's just not, you know, it doesn't have that oomph to it that I'm usually very into. I'm gonna use I still use this thing, so still haven't finished it. We know how long eye primers take to finish up. This is my Kaleidos Color Tone Activator is what it's called. This packaging is a little bit messy. Always just like either comes out not at all or a lot comes out. So let's just put it on the back of my hand and just kind of go from there. As you can see, it's got this like peachy tone if you haven't been here before, which cancels out the veins in your eyes, but the texture is super, it's like thin, but it still covers up and it's not like too watery where it's just dripping everywhere. You don't have to set it. It actually works better when you don't set it, but you can set it. It's peachy, but it like blends out. Things are easy to blend out on top and it doesn't like cling to any texture. So this primer is honestly like the best eyeshadow primer I have ever tried. I'm gonna do a pretty light look today. I'm not gonna go into like these super deep shades down here. I'm not doing like a super red look. This is everyday look. I'm gonna go into, I'm gonna do Ever After and then Dibs, and then I'll see where I go from there. And the thing is, on top of the tone activator, it really does activate tone, so you can use pretty light eyeshadows and still get quite a bit of color out of them, just because it kind of, in the best way possible, clings to the primer, but not in a bad way. Like, it grips. It's actually quite orangey feeling, which I hate when this happens because I don't know if it's just my skin tone. I find that a lot of things that are supposed to be pink end up looking quite like peachy and orangey, and I think it's just the way it blends in with my skin tone. That looks quite orangey, but to be fair, it's not like super pink in the pan. It's actually just quite like a nice peachy transition shade, so it makes sense. But you can see like the difference. The way it comes on my eyelid looks more like that orange shimmer than it does the Ever After. But I'm gonna go into Dibs, which is super pink, and this is what I wanted the cream blush to be like, but that's neither here nor there. Okay. I mean, it blends super well. Did we expect anything else from Colourpop? No. I find Colourpop to just be so reliable. That's why I have so much Colourpop. I find the formula to be pretty reliable. Most of the time I find, you know, you're gonna have an easy time. Then I'm just gonna take that pink, the Dibs shade, throw it under my eyes. Quite honestly, I love Totally Smitten, which is this like glittery shade, and So In Love, which just looks super, you know, these are like smoother, and then Better With You is like chunky again. I don't know, I want to do so much, but I don't have so much eyelid space. I'm gonna go in with Totally Smitten. Oh, it's thick. She's a thick girly. I'm gonna put that right in the middle. I mean, that is gorgeous. And like most of that came off my finger. Oh, that is so pretty and so sticky, and it's not falling out at all. It's like, it feels like it's like connected with glue. That is a very interesting formula, really. Have they made this formula before? Because there's like no fallout under my eyes except for where I touched with my finger, which is annoying. And it just transfers, because usually these sticky formulas, they'll stick to the finger and then they won't come off on your eyelid. This one comes directly onto your eyelid. I have like nothing crazy on my finger. I know it looks like I do, but I don't. I'm gonna take So In Love. It feels thick, just not as thick. I'm gonna throw that in on like the outside. and just blend those in together. I honestly think the formula on this palette is super nice. Obviously I'm not using any of the deeper shades, which is where issues might arise, if any. Everything blends in super well together. Falling shade, which is like a typical, Colourpop likes to do these in the pink palettes, which I love. I love this kind of shade. It's a white with like some pink going through it. Yeah, it's just perfect. Like that's pretty much what I want in this kind of palette. For the inner corner, it kind of reminds me of a shade that like Pat McGrath would do for the inner corner. I'm super shocked by this formula. I don't know if I just haven't like accidentally come across another one of these types of shades with Colourpop, but this one is super special to me. Okay, well this is a big hit. I love Lust in Love. I'm gonna use the BFF lip liner from Colourpop. They also sent me that in PR for like the Christmas period. I don't know which lip gloss to use. I might just use the lightest one. I know that's boring, but I've got a lot going on in my eyes right now. I love that they stopped doing the brushes and they're just doing a doe foot. That's perfect. Oh, these lip glosses are gorgeous. See, the lip gloss isn't sticky at all. It's like super glossy. Not thick, but it looks glossy, but it like isn't sticky. I don't have a new mascara to try. I'm still just using the e.l.f. ones until I finish them. I just used the two e.l.f. mascaras. I just used the two e.l.f. mascaras together. I used the Lash and Roll first because it's like lengthening, and then I used the volume one on top, the one in the copper packaging. But that is what everything looks like so far. I mean, I think it looks okay. I'm gonna use the setting spray and hopefully that will fix the complexion a little bit. That is super amazing mister. That made no grammatical sense. That is an amazing mister. If this works, and it's super like, I don't know if it's unfragrance, but it's maybe, like I'm not really, I'm just gonna keep on spraying that. That is magnificent. If this does anything for me. Okay, I did a few finishing touches, just like fixed the highlight, you know, did a few things, added more setting spray, did the whole thing. My skin looks fine. I think from far away, it actually looks quite flawless, like just smooth because it's matte, so it just looks quite smooth. I think once you get up close, you know, you can see things that are not cute. I think the under eyes suck. Like this concealer sucks on my skin. There's nothing I can do to make this work. I just don't like it at all. I'm actually tempted to just get rid of it. I don't know who to give it to. I don't know what to do with it, but I just don't want it. This foundation is bearable. I think it's okay in the sense that if you don't apply too much, you do a thin layer and you do a lot of things on top, it will look okay. Once again, not my favorite, okay? I'm probably not gonna use this a lot. This is gonna be my like, maybe mix it into something else. Maybe I can like get it to work somehow, but it's not my priority right now. This setting spray is really nice. The mister is cute. Cute is a weird way to describe that. The mister is nice. It's unscented, which is quite nice as well, so it doesn't like bother your nose hole. It's not just a setting, like long wearing setting spray. It's a mattifying setting spray, which she does say on the website and when she's like showing the product, which I do think is actually really nice because I do find that it just blurs. From far away, I think my skin looks actually really nice right now. I personally really like the velvety look of like a matte face with just some highlight in very specific areas, kind of like this. Almost, shockingly so, 2016 makeup, which we're kind of going back to right now. I think everyone's kind of done with the overly dewy. The pendulum is swinging the other way. I do find that I don't think I'll ever go back to like wetting my highlighter brush and doing that, but I do think there's something quite beautiful about that. I think the Colourpop collection is really nice. The lip glosses are amazing. The eyeshadow palette is great. That formula on this like glittery shade is shockingly good. Up here, this one, Totally Smitten, is an incredible formula. I'm yet to try obviously the bottom ones, but they're deeper and I've never had any issues with Colourpop eyeshadows. I think the balms are nice. I haven't tried the gel ones, but I've tried them before and these shades look stunning. Mainly All Love is like an icy like pink and it's gorgeous. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to trying these. I love the gel shadows. I think they're nice. So yeah, I'm just not obsessed with Kylie's complexion products right now, other than, well, the foundation concealer I'm not obsessed with. The rest are actually really nice. I think her rebrand has been really, really nice. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about any of this. Have you tried any of these? Yeah, let me know. And subscribe to the bell icon for engagement. I will try to be a little bit more consistent. So let's look forward to that.